Outside in this project time and this S5 time again. I wasn't expecting to take the front end back off so soon, but as you see, I have to replace the accessory serpentine drive belt and was not expecting that. I have a squeaky pulley. I'm not sure if it's a tensioner pulley or one of the idler pulleys, but it's making noise and it started to shred the serpentine belt up. Would have been nice if that was discovered when I had the whole front end of the car tore off, but that's life, that's how things goes. So let's jack this up, rip off the front end again, and make preparation to swap out this belt and the bad pulley. Okay, we're all jacked up. I rotated my steering wheel to the right so that way I can gain access to the inner bolts that secure the bumper up front. Also the bolts that clip on the bumper to the fender. I'm gonna also start removing this upper cover and the headlights. So let's get it done. I may only have to remove the passenger side headlight. I can pretty much stick with the driver's side end, maybe. In fact, we'll just go ahead and take out both. That way we have proper clearance with pulling the bumper back off. So no big deal, only an extra probably 3 to 4 minutes swapping or snatching out the driver headlight as well. So let's start taking the stuff off and see how close we can get and locate the damaged pulley that's making this squealing sound and that's shredding my belt. I have most of the front end pulled off. Now I can get access to get down in here and see if we can swap out this belt. You can actually see right up in here where the belt was starting to shred. It was actually running off the pulley itself. So my crankshaft drive, it actually pulled back, maybe looked like almost 2 ribs, and was starting to rub up against the engine itself. Good thing I caught it in time, but I knew once you have a squeaky roller, it's a matter of time before the belt actually pops or snaps, and you're going to be stranded or driving off your battery until your battery goes dead and you'll be stranded somewhere. So at least we caught it in time. Let's see if we can get this belt off and identify which pulley is the culprit. I was trying to use the 3/8 adapter that's on my extension, but this would not get in there, and possibly because of the ball, this wouldn't get in there for using this or a ratchet. Luckily, I had this set that was sitting here, and first time I ever used it. So it is a 3/8. I used a 3/8 socket, removed that out, and was able to tap that in place of the tensioner. I've managed to get the belt off just a little bit using some channel locks, and I loosened up the bottom bolt on the spring and used some channel locks, and you can see the grip marks from scraping a little bit of trying to detension that down to get some of this tension off, to get that off. Now we have the socket in here. I can use my extension, my breaker bar, and release the spring tension to remove the belt completely. The adapter works excellent. You can see these are long enough to get in there pretty good. I sprayed a little lubricant in there because of the debris and oxidation that was inside the square hole for fitment, and managed to just tap it in a little bit. I didn't want to go too hard because I still have to remove it out, but the shanks on these are long enough to get in there pretty good and get a good bite. Now we can go ahead and detension this real good to go ahead and remove the belt. I have my belt removed, and it appears the culprit is this top idler pulley. I can shimmy it back and forth. You can actually hear the play in there. And when the car's running, you can hear that high-pitched squeak. And you can see primarily a lot of the load from the wear marks on here was starting to work its way towards the back part of the pulley, allowing this to tilt down because bearing wear and rub up against the housing of the engine. The tensioner pulley, usually these are a little more durable because of the demand that's placed on these from the spring tension itself. And most times your culprit is usually an idler pulley in this case. But we're going to go ahead and swap this out and keep moving forward. I removed the tensioner and I decided to swap it out from another one I have. I do have a new replacement pulley, but I realized that both have the actual same part number, the idler as well as the tensioner. So if you flip over the tensioner, both of these actually have the same part number. You can just pop off the cover cap, take out the screw, and swap off either one. So that's good to know, but one of the things I didn't like is this driver's side pulley wasn't spinning too well. So I do have an 2000, I want maybe 12, but either way, I think it was a 2012 Q7 V8 block that I have sitting on the shelf. I decided to take the tension off of that. That engine only had 40,000 miles on there, which is fairly good. That should give me time to just go ahead and use this new one, the tensioner, and until I go ahead and swap out the V8. I actually have 4 V8 blocks, and which one of them has already been bored and sleeve. That was going to be probably for that V8 project or this one, so I'll decide to use it for the street version with the sleeve block and possibly throw the VR6 in that one, and as I stated before, and use that for the track. But yeah, this is not too good. You can see where it was starting to pit a little bit also on this pulley. It's not looking too good. It has some rough pitted up areas, as you can see in there. Not too good. And it was just polished up just from all the wear and tear. This one, haven't even really gotten a chance to get polished that much. Vehicle, like I said, it got smashed, and the vehicle only had 40 some thousand miles on it. So either way, this should buy me some time, and we can go ahead and start putting these parts back together. At least the idler will be brand new, and hopefully the tensioner is fairly well. But either way, probably should put this new one on the tensioner, since that is taking most of the load. I probably will do that. But either way, let's go ahead and get these back in. I have my pulleys installed, and you can see that this belt was shredded up pretty good. It was done. So luckily we cut it in time. But it's got 4 ribs on it, and this one was already a little worn. But it's got 4 ribs, and I guess the 5th one just wore out. Yeah, so that thing was shot. Also, just for those that want to know, this is a 3/8. So you should be able to use possibly a 3/8 socket or a breaker bar to probably tap in there. But this, to me, is a little bit better because you don't have to worry about the locking ball that will keep your socket from falling off. This worked real great for me. You can see the shank was pretty long, and the tensioner bolt for removing that, the tensioner, that was a triple square 12 millimeter, and to remove the pulley from off of the bracket, that is a 6 millimeter hex. So just for those who want to know. All right, I'm going to put this belt back on and keep moving forward. Yes, it's snow out here, but I'm getting it done. Making some progress. Got my music playing, and it's not too bad. It's 48 degrees. It's still snow on the ground, but it's warm enough to get stuff done. A lot better than last week, the 15 degrees. So this is easy work compared to working in 12 to 15 degrees and with a wind chill of -7. That was not pleasant. So made some pretty good progress, even though it's definitely a little chilly, but nowhere near compared to last week. As I stated, it is 44 degrees now. As you can see, it's still snow on the ground, but at least my fingers are not freezing up while replacing this hardware. All right, so we have the pulley replaced. We're going to go back with the installation. I had disconnected my hose for my, oh my goodness, expansion tank. Good grief. I take this off whenever I pull the front end off. You do not want to crack this hose. This is very brittle, so you can easily snap this. So I usually just disconnect it from both ends, and I'm going to go ahead back with the reverse installation. Even though I didn't give a lot of detail, I just going with the flow, trying to get this stuff swapped out. I usually pop loose my upper radiator hose whenever I'm separating this. Pop the headlights out, as I stated, on both sides. Remove the whole complete bumper. That way I have room and access to get to the stuff I needed. With all the stuff that I removed, it made everything somewhat easy to get in. I didn't have to really fight anything. Usually, a lot of times, I will leave my bumper supports in and just take off the front bumper itself. But this time I said, let me try something a little bit different. And I did have the little extra clearance with the supports out of the way to be able to shift this a little bit around and pivot it pretty much close to being in the service position, because the hoses on this side allows for everything to flex. As you see, everything over here, it allows this to just pivot away from the passenger side of the vehicle and to get everything swapped out. Worked out pretty good. Let me go ahead and finish up with this, and then we can finally get back to the TT. Okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, I want to double check just to make sure I don't have any coolant leaks or anything. I have mostly everything pretty much put back together. All my hoses in place for my headlight washers and Radiator snap back in position. Got the clips, all of that pretty much secure. So last step would be to install the bumper cover and my headlights. So we're looking pretty good for the most part. But like I said, let's start it up. Make sure I don't have any type of coolant leaks, and make sure the pulleys and the belt is good to go. I don't want to start this up and have the belt jump off the pulley, but I made sure everything was pretty much on. I'm fairly secure that everything's good to go, but I still always usually double check behind myself a lot of times. We're looking pretty good for the most part. Topped off the coolant level, no leaks. All the hoses are secure for the most part, and everything's looking good. I don't hear that loud, high-pitched squeaking sound that was coming from our bad pulley. So this thing was shot. But it definitely had its good days. So last piece of the puzzle is to reinstall the front bumper cover and plug in the headlights. So let's go ahead and finish this up, and then I can get back to the sensor configuration for the TT. Everything turned out pretty good with this for the most part. Our fuel pressure, everything tested out good last week. So my final step is configure quite a bit more sensors. I have a lot more to do. We did have some new parts come in yesterday, and we can pick back up on this tomorrow morning with the configuration of the sensors and some of the new goodies that came in. But let's finish up with the S5 and put this thing back together. As I stated before, I have too many projects and not enough time. Definitely not enough time, but I'm making slow steps forward. I now have my bumper secured on the driver and passenger side. I just have to put in a couple remaining bolts up the top to secure the top part of the bumper and the grille support. My car actually vented or self-purged, as I can say. I added a little too much coolant. I'm actually a hair above my max line, probably about almost, I'm right at the max itself, above the arrow. So right at the top where the max is, I'm above that, and I actually vented. So what I'm going to do is just start it up and let some of the coolant drain into this bottle, and that way I can kind of level it back off and get it below that max line, and then install the headlights. Starting to look a little bit better. Coolant level starting to drop down below the max level and bleed off into the bottle. I'll rev it up a little bit just so that way we can get it maybe a quarter inch below the line, and we should be good to go. Starting to look a little bit better below the max line, but I still have to bleed off a little bit more coolant. The front of my car is easily 12 inches off the ground, so most of the coolant is tilted towards the back part of the reservoir. I'm pretty sure once I drop this thing back on the ground, it's definitely going to hit above the max line again. Maybe now, since I have everything bolted on, let's go ahead and drop it down. That way we can get a better accurate measurement and then continue to bleed off some coolant. We're looking pretty good so far. Definitely below that max level. I think I'm gonna call that a wrap. Go ahead and connect that return line back up to the reservoir, and everything seemed like it's good to go. Take it for a quick spin around the block and call it the night. Mission accomplished, and we're all back together. My objective was to at least get this finished before our storm tomorrow. We're supposed to receive a few inches of snow tomorrow, and the temperature is starting to drop out here. We're down to the 30s now, high 30s, and that was my objective, to at least get this back on the road. This is pretty much the only automatic currently that I have, other than my truck. My TDI is a stick shift, my TT is a stick shift, which will soon be a sequential, but this is the dual clutch. It's easier driving back and forth than stop and go traffic, so I definitely wanted to have this as a backup. If traveling back and forth to work I get tired of shifting gears, at least I can just cruise. So I usually drive the TT one day a week, the S5 one day a week, but primarily transportation is my diesel, because I definitely drive quite a bit of a distance from work. 50 miles a day, I'm sorry, 50 miles one way, 100 miles a day. So I definitely don't want to be putting that type of mileage on the TT or this on a weekly basis. So these are backups. They're daily driven, but backups for work for the most part. Just finished rebuilding my regulator. Things got extremely sketchy a few moments ago. I mean, extremely sketchy. Apparently the O-ring failed inside the regulator, and as soon as I opened my valve, the pressure continued to skyrocket all the way up to a little bit over 1,000 psi, which was no good at all. I was pressure testing, or about to check the calibration for this fuel pressure sensor, and I want to make sure that the voltage to psi is set correctly. I'm getting two conflicting reports from the research that I've done. I'm seeing 1,900 to 2,000 psi, and then some sensors I'm seeing like 2,500 to 3,000 psi. So we need to figure out exactly what this is putting out. But that was no good with this thing skyrocketing all the way up like that. So apparently it was a bad faulty O-ring. This O-ring, as you can see, is got a little kink in it right there, and that allowed the pressure to skyrocket. I actually put a burr on the nut right here for securing this because I got my adjustable wrench and was rushing trying to spin this loose real quick and to get the pressure to decrease from my gauge going all the way around and pegging and then being totally shot, you know. So luckily my gauge is still good. I can open my valve right now. I'll back off on this. Let's see if we can do this with one hand. Okay. And now my valve is open. It's still showing a little bit over 1,500 psi. We're looking at around 1,650. And I can adjust the valve right here now. But before I could even turn this valve, it would just shoot around, and that was not good at all. And then now I can slowly regulate it. You see the needle move real slow, which is good. And that's one of the things I liked about this regulator. Well, I can just slowly increment it up whenever I need to do some testing without overshooting my target. So we're good. I can screw this all the way up to whatever, and it's regulating good. So we're good to go now. So now we can finally get back to testing these sensors and calibrating this for the motor.